Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. With the release of Ghost of Yotei, so not that long ago, the usual suspects around the interwebs are spouting more and more nonsense about why this game or that game may or may not be successful, and I do know how to talk. And well, I think it's time I talk about this too, because I just couldn't help myself. There's a massive example just this year alone why having a female protagonist in a video game means absolutely nothing as to whether someone's going to like the game or not. However, you have lovely individuals like Nicola here. We're going to start with this gem of an individual. If you can't stand women in video games, this year sure sucked for you. Now, that statement in and of itself, in a vacuum, may be true, because whether you like it or not, there are people out there that will not purchase a game if it's a female-only protagonist, because that's a preference. You'll also have actual racists out there who just have their head so far up their ass you don't want to even be near them, spewing nonsense over and over again. I'm not playing that game because of a black protagonist. It's like, well, you're going to miss out. That's cool and everything, but you know, those people do actually exist. But to think even remotely that any sort of majority of customers, of gamers, refuse to buy a game or speak negatively about a game simply because of a female protagonist, well, is nonsense. It's quantifiably, provably false over and over again. But of course, I don't think Nicola could be alone in this one. Someone had to one-up his stupidity by bringing up South of Midnight. Yay. Because it's my racism, because South of Midnight didn't do well. It's because of my racism. The number of problems that South of Midnight ran into upon release, well before release, everything surrounding it, the people who had issue with the particular consultancy group, Sweet Baby Stench, being involved in it, and then finding out that the voice actress just wasn't black enough for the video game, so she was fired, and someone else who could talk more black. Thank you, Epic Mike, for bringing that up. For me personally, I was excited for the game, and then I found out a few things. I found about Sweet Baby Stench and didn't really care to purchase the game. And then I saw reviews and gameplay, and the stop motion animation wasn't for me. Sorely disappointed. But hey, it's got to be my racism that we don't like black female characters, right? Huh. Can't imagine. I guess nobody liked Shiva. Huh. And if you didn't know, people can't stand Storm whatsoever. But hey, let's get back to Nicola. Let's get back to this gem, this window licker here. Because, well, let's take a look at some of the games and how popular they were. Let's start with the easy one. Expedition 33, 4.4 million copies, indie studio, and a fantastic Game of the Year contender claimed by everyone who played the game. I need to get off my ass and play it. Knocks that out the water. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers only sold over 1 million copies, but was rather popular. And of course, the anti-sexy lady in the video game crowd, they didn't care for it whatsoever. Does that prove his point? No, I don't know. It sold well in China, not really all that well known over here, but people played it. Silk Song passed 5 million players in 3 days. It broke the stores it was on. And, well, you can sit there and say, well, Silk Song, she's not a female. It's the bug. It's just the bug. It's like, well, you know what? Nicola has it as an example, so I'm going to use it as an example. Split Fiction. Say what you want about Split Fiction and the strong female characters. It was still a popular, well-received game. Now, some of the games that you may call attention to, like, well, let's see, what was it? Oh, Assassin's Creed Shadows. It had nothing to do with being a female character as to why people didn't care for the game. Revisionist History, Yasuke as a samurai. Oh, wait, that's true. That must be the racists out there. Huh? Right? Well, Ghost of Yotei. Now we come full circle. Why didn't people want this game? Numerous reasons. Some of them behind the scenes. Sucker Punch is a studio right up there at the end, had a few things to say. The voice actress, being a massive activist twat, didn't really hold that against them. But one of the primary things that came out when Ghost of Yotei was released, Yotei, who cares? I sure as hell don't, was shown off is that it didn't have the protagonist from the original game. And people lost interest. But why aren't people playing? It's just because of the sexy characters. You could bring up Stellar Blade as an example. Stellar Blade would have flopped hard had it not been interesting gameplay. That was one of my concerns. And if you try to claim that the only reason gooners are playing these sexy games is because of the sexy TNA, well, go talk to the First Descendant. Their player count fell off a cliff. Okay? If you're going to sit there and claim that people just don't want to play female characters, then why is the gamer putting out this article? 2025's biggest sequels, all star women, and only one received backlash. Almost like it has nothing to do with being a female protagonist. Silksong, well received. Hades 2, I played the first one, need to play more of it to check it out. Well received. People are having a blast playing Hades 2. What happened with Ghost of Yotei? Anyway. Hey, I rhymed. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Or maybe I did. It's kind of funny that you see all these videos and how beautiful Ghost of Yotei looks and how, what is it? You can cut the grass with your sword and how beautiful the scenery is, but they're not talking about the gameplay and the story and the mechanics outside of a couple of things here and there. I saw a video, today as of recording this, talking about how, over in Japan, the game is very popular and it's selling like hotcakes, but they're not releasing a number. I've seen a few people say, and I've said this before, one of the surefire ways to figure the game is not selling the way they would have hoped is they're not coming out day 1, day 2, or even week 1 screaming from the rafters how many units the game has sold. I'm going to annoy the hell out of PlayStation's Twitter account by just asking them, hey, how many units did it sell? Because if it is so popular, and if it is so much success, why aren't you telling us how many it sold? Let's check out the article, shall we? Past month has seen 3 games arrive to near universal critical acclaim: Hollow Knight, Silksong, Hades 2, and Ghost of Yotei. 92, and an 88 score on OpenCritic, respectively. Oh dear. Ghost of Yotei couldn't get over a 90. Silksong sold like gangbusters to the point where it broke stores. Too early to tell how Hades 2 is doing, but reviews I've heard is very fantastic. Lots of fun. Ghost of Yotei will perform. It's likely they will be equally successful. Oh, this is on September 27th. As of today, it's October 6th. Huh. It's been well over a week, and they haven't mentioned Yotei's sales. Success aside, these 3 games have one thing in common. They're all sequels to games with male protagonists and now star female protagonists. So the old gender swap that's getting a bit tiresome in the entertainment industry. They're doing over and over again. It's a trope that is overused, overdone, and maybe just instead of doing sequels in general, how about we just come up with something new? I'm playing a lot of new games right now. I would say women and make that sentence less clunky, but, well, Hornet is a bug. Okay. Fair enough. You might expect this to stir up some backlash, and in one case it did, except it was because people wanted to continue the story of Jin. God, I hope his name's right. I'm sorry, I didn't play the first one. It's on my to-do list. Y'all correct me in the comments. Jin Sakai? I don't think I got that right. I hope I did. Oh, Lord. Division of outrage among the 3 actually reveals quite a bit about how gaming is discussed in 2025. People are talking about the pros and cons of the game, how much fun one is over the other, and a little less about, oh my God, it's woman. Well, ugly woman. Depending on your perspective, I guess. When Ghost of Yotei was revealed in 2024, it was met with a degree of backlash. Streamer Asmongold famously asked, "Do I have to play as a girl?" Asmongold is one of those people that perhaps he prefers not to play as a girl. He prefers to play as a male protagonist, which is his right. It's his prerogative. He is a customer, and the customer is always right in matter of taste. Though he phrased it in a uniquely first grader coded way. Oh my goodness, why are we insulting Asmongold? Don't you know his dad just died? How could you, you cold, heartless bastard? Sorry, I couldn't help it. Asmongold was far from the only person to express this sentiment. Yes, a subset of gamers will always be mad seeing women lead video games. Yes, a small subset of people. That's a preference. Most of them don't sit there and claim that the game is trash because female protagonists. They will simply go, "Not interested, I prefer playing male protagonist-led games." Might be redundant, that statement. Subset of gamers, yes. Yotei was just the latest example, with similar outrage hitting Witcher 4 because people want to play as Geralt. Star Wars Outlaws, that was an absolute trash game with a hideous protagonist. Same thing with Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. The problem with those, Witcher 4, people want to play as Geralt, okay? Has nothing to do with female character. If you would have put in a different male Witcher, it would have likely gotten the same backlash. Unfortunately, that's hypothesis and no way to prove it one way or another. People want to play as Geralt in the Witcher games. Star Wars Outlaws, if you would have put on there a customizable character and let people play as the outlaw, it would have gotten much wider reception, and you probably would have had quite a few female protagonists in Star Wars Outlaws if you had a character customization. However, you put whatever the hell that was, and they were ugly. Same thing with Intergalactic Heretic Prophet. The idea that we constantly get the fabulous I can do no wrong girl boss over and over and over. This character trope, genre, description, whatever you want to call it, that backstory is boring, unimaginative, uninteresting, and gamers have been beaten over the head with it so many times, they're kind of tired of it. They want to see the struggle, which you don't get with that character trope. The big bad girl boss with the attitude. It's getting tiresome. Find something new. They want interesting characters, male and or female. To name a few. For these players, men are seen as the default protagonist for games. That's false. And any deviation from this norm must be well justified or risk being seen as political. Then how do you explain these characters? Expedition 33, female protagonist. Wu Chang, female protagonist. Silk Song, female protagonist. Split Fiction, female protagonist. If the bullshit you're spouting and people just can't stand and hate the female protagonist in and of itself, explain Metroid. Explain Princess Peach's popularity. You can't because you're full of shit. Much like this window licker right here and their room temperature IQ pal. It's nonsense, provably false, over and over again. Whether it's in video games, TV shows, or movies, this idea that you're just afraid of the female character. No, we can't stand boring planks of wood with zero character journey, zero hero's journey, zero struggle. Everything is handed to them, and they just got that big bad girl boss attitude. I'm a bad bitch. No, you're a badly written bitch. You're a badly performed bitch. Overall, just a bitch. Why is it, well, which is why I find it so interesting that Hades 2, maybe because it's a fun game that's well written, and Hollow Knight Silk Song's female protagonists have barely factored into the conversation around either game at all. Because it's fun! Sorry. Hope you didn't have your earphones in there. I'm sorry. This discussion is just so ultimately frustrating on my part. Or for me, for my brain. I feel like I'm getting dumber and dumber anytime I see someone talking about this because, again, let's repeat myself for everyone in the back. It is provably false. And yet people, articles like this, individuals like Nicola, maybe I should call him Nicole, try to gaslight everyone into believing that, no, it's just because it's a female character. It's like, no, it's a shit game. It's a shit character. Poorly written, poorly delivered. Dodged the discourse. They made fun games. Silksong may have been grandfathered, what? Thanks to being a game announced all the way back in February 2019. They made a fun game. People bought it, and people continue to buy it, and people continue to play it because it's a fun game. When the conversation around this kind of thing was a little less stupid. No, this conversation has always been stupid, but unfortunately, you need to be looking in the mirror when you're considering the stupidity. That doesn't account for Hades 2 lack of controversy. Sure it does. It's very simple. The game's fun. First revealed in December 22. And 2, this could be a case where early access protects a game from one excuse after another after another. Early access protects the game. Being announced back in 2019 protects the game. Baldur's Gate 3 went on to be the most talked about game in 2023. It received little mainstream attention throughout its 3 years in early access, and Hades 2 enjoyed the same odd mixture of familiarity and anonymity. Such mitigating factors ultimately matter. No, they don't. The only thing that matters ultimately is how much fun the game is. Let's say this again. Make it fun first, fuckers, and you'll be surprised at just how many piles of cash you can make. Because word of mouth, especially in video games, can carry so much weight. Baldur's Gate 3 was popular. People are still playing it to this day. This gay. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. That was a little slip of the tongue there. 2D Metroidvania and top-down roguelike, no matter how commercially successful, don't register to outrage farming influencers. Oh, God, I actually thought this was going to be a sensible article, but no! Outrage farming influencers in the same way a big AAA game does. Are you kidding me? Let's make excuses instead of addressing the single underlying cause of why games like Ghost of Yotei are not well received, why games like Assassin's Creed Shadows are not well received, why games like South of Midnight are not well received. First and foremost, the trailer does not do a good enough job at pulling in the audience. It looks the same cookie cutter nonsense over and over again. And then female protagonists look dog snot ugly. And whether you like it or not, beauty sells entertainment. And when you have an entire customer base has been beaten over the head over and over again with one piece of entertainment, whether it's a video game, TV show, or movies, where visual is king. That's it. Sex sells, visuals are king. When they see ugly female protagonists, they try out the game, they give it a chance. There used to be a time where you would give these games a shot because, you know what, maybe they just couldn't do a good enough job with this model or that model, even though the male models look almost picture perfect to their voice actors and the people they're supposed to be portraying. Almost perfect, you might say. I did say that. When one game after another, one TV show, one movie after another with a lackluster female protagonist is shown, is tried out, and the rest of the game, the rest of the show, the rest of the movie is dog water, well, you start to train, it's Pavlov's dog, you start to train your audience into believing that if we see hideous female character, well, the game's going to be shit. I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to save my money for a game that likes a little bit of fan service. And again, like I said, fan service does not keep the customer around. Stellar Blade had, plenty of fan service. Wonderful, wonderful fan service. But there was also a story there, gameplay, mechanics that were entertaining, that was able to keep players involved. Stop beating your customers over the head, screaming to them that you must buy this game. Don't ask questions. Just consume product and get excited for next product, because after a while, they're simply going to close their wallets, wait for reviews, vote with their wallets, and then just move on to something that, well, a few of the content creators that they follow actually enjoy. It's the only reason I started watching Arcane, the only reason I picked up quite a few bits of it, a few video games out there, because people that I related with, for the most part, enjoyed them. Why would I play a video game where the protagonist looks like they got hit with the ugly stick? It's time to admit the problem in the industry. Whether you consider it superficial or not, facts are facts. Sex sells. And maybe, just maybe, stop beating your audience over the head and telling them they're wrong for not liking attractive characters. But hey, what do I know? But let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things as YouTube would beg you to do. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.